Last month, 64% of Gen Z said even when they hit a major goal, they didn't feel successful. Not tired, not relieved, just more unsure. And if you scroll deep enough through LinkedIn confessions, Reddit vent posts, or TikTok rants disguised as career advice, you'll start to see a pattern. Everyone talks about the checklist. No one talks about what comes after it. You land the job, you get the grade, you move to the next level, but there's no ceremony, no climax, just another screen, another browser tab, another reminder to stay hungry. Success isn't a party anymore. It's a password-protected spreadsheet. I remember the day I hit every milestone I had planned for that year. Promotion, award, apartment, inbox full of "so proud of you" texts. But that night, I sat on the floor beside a half-eaten meal and thought, why does this feel like survival, not celebration? The scary part wasn't feeling sad. It was feeling nothing. Like all the effort I'd spent getting here had shaved off the part of me that used to career. Like, had arrived at the finish line, and nobody remembered to show up. And still, I posted the emoji-filled story, the confetti, the feeling grateful caption. Because maybe if I performed happiness well enough, I'd start believing I deserved it. But the truth is, I didn't even reread the messages they sent, just stared at the blinking cursor in the group chat, wondering why no one asked how I actually felt. Maybe we're not chasing goals anymore. Maybe we're just running from the fear of what happens when we stop. Why do I keep performing like I'm okay? I smile in group photos like I'm in a toothpaste ad for people who haven't slept in weeks. I laugh at my own jokes in Zoom meetings because silence on mute feels like failure. Hit send on my accomplishments and immediately check if anyone cares. It's exhausting, this game of being relatable, but also inspirational. Vulnerable enough to be admired, but polished enough to be hired. Some days I rehearse my gratitude before I even wake up. Like, thank you for this opportunity to dissociate in business casual. Don't even know if want any of this. But God forbid pause. God forbid break character. Because if they see, will they scroll away? Or worse, will they see themselves? What am I so afraid they'll notice? That I don't feel proud, just productive. That my to-do list is a coffin in bullet points. That I start every Monday asking, what's the point? And end every Friday with a fake exhale and a frozen smile. They called me driven, but no one asked what I was running from. And the truth is, I don't know how to rest without guilt. I don't know how to say I'm overwhelmed without also saying, but I'm fine. It's like, was built for applause, even when no one's clapping, and silence feels louder than failure. Like if they're not cheering, must have messed up. So, keep going. Not because love this, but because I don't know who am without the chasey. When did achievement start feeling like punishment? Used to celebrate small wins. Now delete them from my calendar like they never counted. Because someone else is always doing more, doing faster, doing louder. So, go again. Add more. Say yes. Smile wide. I stack my days like Jenga blocks made of caffeine and pressure. And when they topple, post a meme about burnout, and everyone laughs, because it's true. Because we're all tired, pretending we're just busy. Used to think success would save me. Now, think it's the prettiest prison I've ever decorated. One where the mirror only reflects not meaning. One where don't even cry anymore. Just blink slower. Why do I fear being boring more than being broken, because in this world, okay is forgettable. Because vulnerability gets likes, but silence gets muted. Because if not impressive, invisible. So, perform pain like it's content. Craft captions about growth while spiraling through self-doubt. Post reels about balance at 2 a.m., eyes twitching, hands shaking. Because being seen is currency, even if the version of me they see isn't real. And the scariest part, sometimes forget what the real me even looked like. Before the hashtags. Before the hustle. Before I became a highlight reel of someone just trying not to disappear. Why does entertaining people make me feel disposable? Because they cheer for the version of me that's easiest to consume. The one who's always on, always witty, always thriving. But they don't notice when stop posting, or when my laugh sounds slightly off. Or when my stories feel more like SOS signals than status updates. I'm not mad at them. I'm just tired of being digestible. Tired of turning panic into punchlines. Tired of clapping for myself in an empty room. Used to want to be admired. Now just want to be felt. And maybe even held in a silence that doesn't ask me to be funny first. Why do I still feel like I missed something? We didn't talk about it. Got the offer. You nodded. Then we watched a show we'd both already seen, like routine could make it real. There was no toast, no clink of glasses, just a pile of laundry and the buzz of a phone. Didn't check. Think meant didn't. But something was off. The celebration felt like an inside joke, didn't get. You used to ask how my meetings went. Now, you just ask what we're having for dinner. Used to write about my dreams. Now, update my status. Maybe we both thought success would feel louder. Instead, we spoke less. Like if we didn't say it out loud, the silence wouldn't count. Why does clarity feel like loss? When I got what I thought wanted, I expected relief. Instead, grieved something. I couldn't name it, just felt it pulling at the corners of everything. Sat with my new title, new salary, new desk, and missed something older, quieter. A version of me that used to wonder. Back when hope didn't look like deadlines, you asked if was excited. I said, of course. Then opened my laptop and didn't type anything. It felt like the air had changed. Like the room remembered more than did. Started sleeping with the window open again. Maybe needed to feel something move. Even if it was just the curtain. Why did I mistake silence for PC? I thought that if things were fine, then we were okay. We weren't arguing. We weren't avoiding. But we also weren't asking. Not about work. Not about dreams. Not about why flinched when you said, you made it. We filled our days with chores and scrolls and saved links to articles neither of us read. Told people we were thriving. They didn't ask what that meant. Didn't either. Sometimes, still replay that one night. You passed me the wine, passed you my phone to show you the news. We both nodded. And then we didn't say anything for the rest of the meal. Called it peace. But looking back, think it was something else? Why does success feel lonelier than failure ever did? When I failed, people checked in. When I'd succeeded, they assumed didn't need anything. Maybe that's what hurt most. Not the silence, but how easily they replaced concern with congratulations. Posted the update. 212 likes. 8 comments. All variations of, so proud of you. You deserve this. No one asked how I was sleeping. No one asked if I wanted any of it. And maybe wouldn't have answered honestly. But might have felt less like been promoted into isolation, less like was smiling from a distance. Didn't choose, and don't think anyone meant to disappear. But they did, and let them. Why do I miss the struggle more than the success? Because back then, at least it felt like we were becoming something. We had late nights and shared fears and the kind of questions that don't have answers. Now we have outcomes, and paperwork, and a calendar we sync once a week. Used to dream in full color. Now plan in bullet points. Sometimes scroll back to old drafts, resumes, journal entries, even grocery lists, just to remember what I used to need. Back when everything was uncertain, and still had the energy to carry. You told me the hard part was over, and maybe you were right. But I think we lost something softer in the winning. Something we never named, something we never mourned. Why did I stay silent when success hurt? Because no one wants to hear that the dream feels like a trap. Because when you're winning, you're not allowed to flinch. They said, "You made it." I said, "Yeah," and smiled like I believed them. But I was crumbling in the background. They don't see the breakdown behind the LinkedIn update. Don't see the panic attacks in the Uber between meetings. They saw my highlight reel and lived the bloopers slide. Because speaking up felt like ingratitude. Because black men aren't supposed to say "I'm tired" unless it's followed by "but I'm blessed." So swallowed it, all of it. Until my silence started sounding like complicity. Why was I scared they'd call me ungrateful? Because the moment said this isn't enough. They said, you should be thankful. Thankful for the pressure. Thankful for the grind. Thankful it wasn't still where I started. But no one asked what gave up to get here. No one saw me snapping my ambition into pieces to fit into their version of success. Performed the part, laughed on cue, carried the team, buried the burnout. And they applauded like it was all part of the plan. But inside was screaming. And when 5 finally spoke, they said was bitter, too emotional, hard to work with. As if naming the weight meant created it. Why do I feel punished for telling the truth? Because the moment stopped smiling, they called it rebellion. Like owed them joy just for surviving. Didn't shout to be dramatic. Shouted because whispering never worked. Because my inbox was full of fake check-ins. Because "how are you" turned into "can you" and "take care of yourself." Came with another deadline I told them was drowning. They offered productivity tips. Told them was unraveling. They said, "But you're killing it." As if that was a compliment. As if killing it wasn't the point. They wanted someone to mean it when they said, "I see you." Why did I let them call this thriving? Because I was afraid to lose the spot I'd earned. Because I thought had to prove my struggle was worth something. That every late night, every tear swallowed in bathroom stalls, every time was overlooked until that was convenient, had to add up to something bigger than pain. So I let them crown me with titles that didn't fit. Let them call me leader when I hadn't led myself to rest in months. Let them quote my wins and skip my wounds, until couldn't take it anymore. Until ripped off the costume, mid-scene, and finally asked, why do I need to break to be believed? Why does my truth only echo when I yell? Because quiet suffering is invisible in a loud world. Because no one reposts your exhaustion until it's poetic. Because I was too quiet when I needed help, and too loud when needed love. I'm not bitter, I'm just done being palatable. Done apologizing for being whole, rage and all. Done dimming my disappointment so others don't flinch. They said eat had everything, but no one asked what it cost me. Don't need a seat at the table if I can't breathe there. Don't need another medal that muffles my voice. From now on, I'll speak. Even if it cracks the room, even if they call it too much, because too much is the truth. Was never allowed to tell. Why did I expect healing to feel loud? I used to think healing would look like a breakthrough, a sunrise moment, a dramatic release. Instead, it's brushing my teeth without checking my phone, turning off read receipts, letting notifications blink without guilt. No applause, no epiphany, just a quiet evening where my breath doesn't feel like a performance. I spent so long trying to prove was okay. Now just want to be. Don't need the world to notice. Just need to not flinch when it's quiet. Some days still wait for a sign. But maybe the stillness is the sign that the storm has. And I'm still here, not fixed, just present. Why did I believe closure needed an answer? I reread old texts like I was looking for a key, something to unlock the confusion, to name the HE. But no line ever said what needed it to say. And even if it did, would I believe it? I think I was addicted to the chase, the search for one more reason, one more what if. But now, walk away from my phone with the battery half full, and let unanswered things stay that way. It's not peace, not yet, but it's something close. Like not needing to explain myself to the mirror. Like letting the memory dim without fearing forgetting them. Because maybe the real closure isn't knowing why. It's not needing to. Why is it easier to forgive others than myself? They've moved on. Watched it happen. Smiles, milestones, soft launches. And I told myself was okay with that. And maybe but when me look at myself, at all the moments, stayed too long, performed too hard, doubted too deeply, it still flinch. It's strange. How'd never say the things say to myself to someone love. I'm learning to let that inner voice go quiet. To replace the critic with a question, what if I was just trying to survive? Don't need to rewrite the past. Just need to stop punishing myself for being human in it. Why do I still revisit wounds I promised I buried? Because grief doesn't vanish. It changes shape. One week it's a thought mid-shower. Next week it's the song that randomly shuffles. Some memories knock. Others just walk in. But lately, don't invite them to stay. So acknowledge them. Set the emotional tea down and let them leave when they're ready. Think the wound softens not when it disappears, but when it doesn't hijack the whole day. Now, when it hurts, pause-y, breathe-y. Tell myself, you're not back there, you're here now. Sometimes that's enough. Why does peace feel unfamiliar but right? Because I'm used to chasing, not resting. Used to proving, not receiving. But lately, peace feels like learning a new language. Slower, quieter, less show, more sense. Find it in the way the curtain dances with the wind. In meals eaten without scrolling. In laughter that doesn't need an audience. Used to think needed answers to heal. Now think just needed to stop bracing for impact. Let softness be strength. Let presence be enough. This isn't the comeback pictured. No grand moment. No cinematic redemption. Just mornings that don't start with dread, and nights that end with breath, not burnout. Maybe this is healing. Not loud. They just echo softer each time. Inside the parts of us still learning how to stay quiet without collapsing. Why? Why did I laugh in group chats when I felt like leaving the room? answer, because if I smiled first, maybe no one would look close enough to notice was fading. Why? Why did I keep checking my inbox like it owed me comfort? Because sometimes we refresh notifications, hoping one of them will tell us we're not alone. Why did I finally speak when I knew it would cost me everything? Because silence had already taken more than they ever could, and was done disappearing politely. Why do I still flinch when I feel peace? Because chaos used to mean was moving. Stillness means have to sit with what care. Why? Why do you keep checking their page even though you know it won't help? If this story feels like yours, whisper your answer in a comment. Or don't. Maybe just say it softly to yourself. Maybe healing isn't letting go. Maybe it's learning how to carry less and still call it love. Write the line you never got to send.